Welcome to the online Yoga Nidra course presented by Wise Owl Wellness. My name is Kristy and I will be your guide along this journey. I've been teaching yoga, meditation, and therapeutic dance in the form of the Nia technique for over 12 years. I'm the former administrative director of the Mindfulness Center at the University of Virginia, and I moved to Tucson, Arizona in 2013. I'm the author of the book called Mindfulness on the Move, which shares my own journey of finding stillness through movement, as well as stories of others along the way. In 2015, I started Wise Owl Wellness and began offering wellness classes in the form of yoga, meditation, and Nia in the community. And in 2016, I founded the Wise Owl School of Yoga, where I offer 200-hour yoga teacher trainings and continuing education courses just like this one. All of my programs are accredited through Yoga Alliance, and I have a passion for sharing these practices with others, as well as training new students who want to continue to share the work with others as well. I've always had an interest in the therapeutic effects of yoga, meditation, and other mindfulness practices. And in 2010, I started a clinical trial at the University of Virginia Cancer Center, studying the effects of the Nia technique on the quality of life among women who were treated for breast cancer. And what we found was that these techniques decreased their depression, improved their ability to function during daily tasks like laundry or groceries or dressing themselves or whatever it may be. And what we also discovered is that we created a community, a place where people could find support among their peers in a non-judgmental way. And the ladies who participated in that study danced with me once a week, every week, for 3 years. In 2011, I started a restorative yoga program for breast cancer survivors and caregivers at the University of Virginia. I received funding to do these classes to provide some stress relief for what they were going through at the time. We discovered that even though we didn't study it officially, they reported back that they were less stressed, they had less pain, and they felt better in general, overall in their lives, but also in their physical and mental well-being. I know these practices work because I've seen it, and I've also experienced it for myself. Whenever I've had difficult times in my life, I've turned to my yoga, meditation, and Nia practices, and they have served me well to help me get through whatever it is that may have been going on in my life at the time. These practices form a foundation, a place of centering and grounding, so that when we have to deal with chaos in our lives, which most of us do, we have a grounded place from which to stand and relax into the space of quietness so that we can make better decisions from a place of clarity rather than chaos. This allows us to move from a negative headspace into a more positive one. That's enough about me. I want to hear about you. So be sure to head over to our private Facebook group and introduce yourself to the group. This will serve as a safe place to ask questions, to interact with other members of the group, and to continue your learning even after you finish this course. You should have received your manual that coincides with this course. The manual is meant to serve as a resource, so after you complete the course, you can have it to go back and catch up or read up on some of the things that you might want a refresher on or a little more clarification. We're going to be covering everything that's in the manual, and then I encourage you to continue your study. This course is comprised of the resources that are listed in the back of the manual on your recommended reading list. But there are many other resources available for you to continue your learning about Yoga Nidra in particular, and other techniques that you may want to incorporate with it. Let Google be your friend. When you go to the search engine and type in Yoga Nidra, no doubt hundreds or thousands of references or resources will come to you, whether they're the form of scripts or videos or audio files that you can use either for yourself or when you're providing the service for another. All right, let's get to it. The word yoga means to yoke or to join together. It is the union of the body and the mind through the breath. Yoga Nidra means yogic sleep. It is a gentle form of yoga that is practiced completely relaxed, either sitting comfortably or lying down with the use of props. It's great for anyone who's stressed out or is currently healing from an injury or an accident or an illness, or for anybody who wants to help maintain their current level of health and well-being. The origins of Yoga Nidra date back thousands of years. This ancient practice was first mentioned in the Upanishads several thousand years ago. The Upanishads describe 4 states of consciousness that can be expressed through the syllable Om. Most of us have heard of the word Om before. The symbol on the wall behind me is the Om symbol. Om is actually made of 4 parts, A, O, and the silence that follows. So to break it down, the A is our waking state of consciousness. The U is the dream state, and the is the state of deep sleep. The silence that follows is the state of silent awareness, in which all of the other states of consciousness arise. Let's practice chanting Om together. Make sure that you're either sitting comfortably or lying down comfortably. If you're sitting, make sure the spine is nice and straight. Let your hands come to rest on your lap with the palms facing up. You might drop your chin a bit, lowering your gaze or closing your eyes if that's comfortable. We'll exhale to prepare. Inhaling. And then slowly come back to this time in this present moment. Taking a moment to notice how you feel. You might want to make some notes on how Om has affected you, if it did at all. It's recommended but not required to begin and end your Yoga Nidra sessions with the chanting of Om, either out loud or silently. This ritual sets the tone for the practice and brings the body, mind, and breath into union. The practice of Yoga Nidra is to bring the body, mind, and breath together in all states of consciousness, the A, O, and the silent awareness that follows. That silent awareness is where our true nature lies. Our true nature is beyond the body. Yoga Nidra is concerned with teaching us who we truly are and where we stand in the truth of what actually is. Yoga Nidra teaches us to investigate the nature of our beliefs that define our personal identity. Yoga Nidra allows us to rest in the space beyond the mind and the body where our true nature lies, in that silent awareness. The more we rest as who we truly are, the less we are affected by what passes through us, whether they're thoughts, emotions, or experiences. We can learn to be simply at peace, even in the midst of internal or external disturbances. Most people do not get enough rest, and that might be the understatement of the year. We walk around on autopilot, consuming coffee and energy drinks and other stimulants just to meet where we can function at a basic level. And those things only make us more tired, they deplete our energy, and even keep us up at night so that we can't sleep and get the rest that we actually need. And soon we require larger quantities of these stimulants just to function at a basic level, and we repeat this cycle. Yoga Nidra takes us to those brainwave states where we can rest and restore the body. Similar to sleep, although we're awake, we're conscious. But we will find it easier to disengage with our thoughts and find true stillness and rest. As a culture, we're always plugged in, and our nervous system is always in a constant state of fight or flight. And when we're in that chronic state of stress, it can really do some damage to our immune system and to other systems of the body, manifesting as what we call disease. Yoga Nidra takes us into that parasympathetic rest and digest state where the body can restore and heal itself naturally. Yoga Nidra is composed of relaxation, breathing techniques, and other mindfulness practices to simulate the state of sleep, or dreamless sleep, hopefully, where the body can repair. It systematically guides us into non-doing and just being. This is why Yoga Nidra is somewhat paradoxical in that it guides us into that sleep-like state, but we're quite conscious, or at least we try to be. That state between consciousness and sleep is where the body is able to deeply rest, repair itself, reduce stress, and also rewire the brain. Here we can undo bad habits, rid ourselves of controlling thought patterns, and even change our beliefs. In addition to the benefits of the practice, Yoga Nidra is accessible to everyone. At virtually no cost, and it can be done anywhere, it's a fabulous way to begin a meditation practice if you don't already have one. Yoga Nidra is guided meditation that relaxes you from the inside out. Every time you come to the practice, you'll have a new experience. Falling asleep is okay too. You'll still receive benefits as the unconscious mind absorbs the practice. Yoga Nidra can be as short as 5 minutes or up to over an hour. A typical practice is 30 to 45 minutes. And it is said that 45 minutes of Yoga Nidra is equivalent to 3 hours of sleep. So think about living in a sleep-deprived state all the time, and we may not have time to get that 8 hours of sleep every night. If that's not possible, you could set aside 30 to 45 minutes and replenish your sleep. This makes it easy to incorporate into your daily routine, so if you're already not sleeping well, you certainly can make the time for 30 to 45 minutes that will not only reduce your stress, but also help you feel rested and the body will be able to heal. The practice of Yoga Nidra is an opportunity to learn more about yourself. We're able to experience emotions without getting caught up in the story of the emotion or the cause of that emotion. For example, we can feel the emotion of anger and not become angry. This offers us freedom from our emotions and the ability to see that we are much more than what we feel or think. Yoga Nidra is not hypnosis. It is a deep and profound state of meditation. It teaches us about the temporary nature of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. This can change our perspective on how we perceive stress and ideas we have about ourselves. When discomfort arises during the practice, it doesn't have to disturb the peace. When discomfort presents itself, invite it into the practice and ask maybe what message it might have for you, what it's trying to tell you. A typical Yoga Nidra session is about 30 minutes long. Longer sessions are considered advanced practice. In 2010, the American Psychological Association conducted its Stress in America survey, and what they found was 75% of the people who responded to the survey said they felt that their stress levels were so high that they felt unhealthy. 75%. Let that sink in for a moment. We are living in stressful times. Yoga Nidra can help reduce stress, increase mental clarity, and relieve pain, among many other benefits. What makes Yoga Nidra unique as opposed to other meditation forms is the use of a sankalpa, or an intention. The sankalpa is the desired result you wish to receive from your practice. Once you set your sankalpa, or your intention, the meditation will guide you through the 5 koshas, or the layers of self. We're going to dive into that into more detail in future sessions. But for now, just know that that is what distinguishes Yoga Nidra from, let's say, another guided relaxation meditation. So why do we suffer? The word klesha means obstacle. According to yoga philosophy, there are 5 basic kleshas that cause our suffering, also known as the human condition. The reasons for suffering are ignorance or forgetfulness, egoism, attraction, aversion, and clinging to life. Let's start with ignorance or forgetfulness. We forget our true nature is pure bliss, and often we get caught up in the dramas of our lives. We sometimes get so involved in the dramas that we forget that we're playing a part, and we actually become that part that we're playing. For example, we exhibit anger at every trigger that comes our way, and then all of a sudden we are an angry person. We suffer because sometimes we don't remember, or maybe we never knew, that we are more than our human experience of emotion. We're disconnected from Source. Yoga Nidra helps us reestablish that connection to Source, knowing that we are more than our emotions. Egoism. Our programming and identity, formed from our backstory and our experiences, teach us how to behave according to social norms. These experiences teach us how to think and how to form our worldview. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. Ego is what drives us to succeed and to get things done. It helps us function in our daily lives. But when we get concerned more with the me than the we, it becomes a problem. Yoga Nidra asks the question, who is having these thoughts? Who is the me? And we come to realize that we are not our ego. That is not who we are. We are much more than that. Attraction. In order to satisfy the ego, we try to attain things, experiences, and even people that we think will make us happy. We're attracted to material items, experiences, and people that will fill a void or make us feel whole or respected or loved. And then life becomes managed and controlled by wanting more, faster, better. Yoga Nidra teaches us that happiness does not live outside of us. Aversion. Again, in order to satisfy the ego, we sometimes avoid experiences or people or things. And that causes us suffering because a lot of times we miss out on experiences that we would have done because we have placed a judgment of, I don't like that. And that judgment stems from the ego. It causes us suffering because by missing out on things we wouldn't try because we've already made up our minds that we don't like it. And lastly, clinging to life. Attachment to life includes the belief of that when the body dies, we die, and therefore we fear death. But death should not be feared. It is a part of life, and we know this. But it is hardwired into our instinct as a survival mechanism. And so we falsely invest our energy, our time, our money in building a self-image. And then we protect that self-image. And maybe we acquire wealth and large homes and lots of things to show how awesome we are. But the truth is, you can't take it with you. Death is not to be feared. It is meant to teach us to enjoy the life we have while we have time, and to enjoy it without suffering. So before we get into the practice of Yoga Nidra, let's talk a little bit about anatomy. Now, most of the anatomy that we need to know as far as this particular practice is concerned has to do with the nervous system. Our nervous system is made of our brain, our spinal cord, and the nerves that flow from those structures. The sympathetic nervous system is our fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. This is evolved as a survival mechanism. Whenever we feel threatened, then stress hormones are released into the bloodstream to ready the body for fighting, fleeing, or freezing in the case of playing dead for safety. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, the blood flow is moved from the core of the body out to the extremities so that we're ready to either put up a fight or run away. As a result, our heart pounds, we tense our muscles, and we're suddenly on very high alert. The parasympathetic nervous system, however, is the antidote to stress. It's our rest and digest system. When the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, the blood flow returns to the core of the body from the extremities, the heart rate slows, and we start to relax, and the muscles relax, and the mind starts to rest. In the 1960s, Dr. Herbert Benson discovered something that he called the relaxation response. Dr. Benson was a doctor at Harvard Medical School, and his findings were revolutionary, particularly at the time. So what he found was that it takes 15 minutes for the body to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if you think about that, every single time that you're triggered for the sympathetic response, for us these days, instead of being chased by dinosaurs, those triggers could be somebody pulls out in front of you in traffic, or you have to wait in a long line at the grocery store, or maybe you have a deadline or something like that. All of those tiny little triggers release stress hormones into the body, into the bloodstream, and cause chronic stress, which basically over time will help deteriorate bodily organs and cause disease in the body. Now, it takes 15 minutes for the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. So who has that kind of time? Whenever we're triggered, so we're in traffic and somebody cuts you off and you get very excited and your heart pounds, do you then pull over and breathe for 15 minutes to wait until the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in? No, nobody does that. The benefit of a Yoga Nidra practice, or really any restorative yoga practice, is that we allow the body that time to have the parasympathetic nervous system activate. And we know that this happens because after that first 15 minutes, we really begin to settle into the practice. So even in a regular yoga class, if you have a nice shavasana at the end, it may not be that full 15 minutes to allow you to get into that deep, relaxing, and resting state. There are some recent studies that claim 50% of all medical visits are stress-related. When we have statistics like that, the question becomes, why isn't everybody doing Yoga Nidra? This is a preventative medical intervention. It costs $0 and can be done almost anywhere by anyone. So how does it work? Sleep has the power to restore the body. It does not, however, have the power to awaken us to our true nature. Yoga Nidra is a meditation technique that takes us into the deep states of sleep, but we are conscious and awake while it happens. The mind becomes still and quiet. In Yoga Nidra, we move into the same brainwave states as sleep, where there is less mind activity and more profound states of meditative awareness. We don't learn how to sleep. The body knows how to do that. Yoga Nidra follows the path of sleep, but while we're conscious. Thoughts might be present, but they're not disturbing. And we can begin to see the space between or behind the thoughts. This is where our connection to Source lives. At the root of all of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors is the communication between neurons. Brain waves are produced by the communication sent by the electrical impulses of the neurons communicating between each other. Our brain waves change depending on how we're feeling and what we're experiencing at the time. When slower brain waves are dominant, we might feel sluggish or tired or sleepy. And when faster brain waves are dominant, we might feel agitated or anxious or on hyper alert. When our brain waves are out of balance, this can cause problems in our emotional state. Over-arousal in our brain waves can create things like anxiety, ADHD, hypomania, anger and aggression, and sleeping problems. Under-arousal in our brain waves can cause things like depression, or chronic fatigue, or insomnia. There are 5 major brainwave states. Gamma waves are the fastest of the brainwaves, and they relate to different processing areas of the brain. Researchers have discovered that gamma waves are more active when we are experiencing emotions like love, or altruism, or gratitude. This is why it's so important to have a gratitude practice, because it's been shown to actually change the way our brains work and can rewire us. Beta waves dominate our natural awake state. This is where our consciousness lives most of the time when we are awake and alert and focused on mental tasks. Beta waves are fast and they're present when we're awake and alert and focused. Beta waves are present when we are making judgments or decisions or solving problems. In a Yoga Nidra session, you are in beta wave state when you are aware, fully aware of what's going on in the room around you. Alpha waves are dominant during quietly flowing thoughts or a meditative state. Alpha waves are experienced when we are in the present moment. Alpha waves are a resting state for the brain. You may have thoughts, but they're not distracting. Theta brain waves occur most often when we're asleep. This might even include the REM state or dream state when we finally get into sleeping at night. Theta waves occur in that twilight state of somewhat awake, somewhat sleep, that kind of dreamlike state. At this point in a Yoga Nidra session, though you're not able to fully understand or hear what the instructions are, the body is still responding. So even if you fall asleep during a Yoga Nidra session, the body is unconsciously responding to the instructions being given. So don't feel like you've messed up if you fall asleep in a Yoga Nidra session. You're still going to get the benefits of the practice. And finally, delta waves. Delta waves are loud, slow brain waves that signify a deep state of rest. Healing and regeneration are stimulated during this deep resting state. That is why rest is so essential to the healing process. When you go to the doctor when you're sick, they tell you to get plenty of rest. This is why. Rest is what heals the body. In the delta wave state, there is no ego. The I disappears. Whatever we identify with disappears, and we become one with our source. Yoga Nidra teaches us that there's nothing to do. There's only to be. Yoga Nidra is like rebooting a computer. You turn the system off, and then once you turn it on again, the programs should work like they're supposed to. It is in that resting that the body heals itself. So in this session, we've learned about the history of Yoga Nidra, the benefits of the practice, reasons for human suffering, the physical anatomy of Yoga Nidra, and how Yoga Nidra affects the brain. Take some time to review this material and the manual so that you have a good understanding of what Yoga Nidra is and how it works. Be sure to send any questions that you have, either commenting on our Facebook group or you can email me directly. Your homework before completing session 2 will be to practice Yoga Nidra at least 3 times this week. You might want to keep a journal to jot down your experience during and after the practice. And feel free to share your experience in our Facebook group. I look forward to connecting with you again soon.